to episode 45 of the While She Naps podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. Today we're talking about how an indie designer can create a worldwide wholesale business while keeping production small scale and local. My guest is Heather Moore, founder and creator of Skinny LaMinx. When Heather Moore started experimenting with screen printing in her spare time in 2007, she had no idea that just a few years later, she'd have a shop in Cape Town, 9 employees, and a wholesale business sending her fabrics, cushions, homewares, and more all around the world. Heather Moore, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be on your show.
Yeah, it's so exciting to talk to you. It's my first guest from South Africa.
Hey.
But it's like we're in the same room, so perfect.
Absolutely.
I'm here
just different times of day.
Exactly. I'm here in Boston where it's morning. You're in Cape Town.
End of the day over here.
Right. So awesome. All right. So you have a storefront on Bree Street in Cape Town with a studio above, and you sell your work there. You also sell online, and you have a wholesale business with accounts all over the world. So I was wondering if you could start by just describing the Skinny LaMinx operation as it looks right now.
All right. Well, our little shop is pretty discreet. It's got a little black awning out the front that just says in Korea font Skinny LaMinx on the front. Walk through into a fairly small little store that leads through into a bit more of a workshop space. And as you walk through, you'll see all of our products there. We've managed to put an enormous amount of pattern, of color, of range of products into this little space without completely overwhelming the shopper, I hope, at least. And mostly we've managed to do that by keeping the colors quite dark and so that they hold all the patterns and colors together. And then as you walk through into the workshop space at the back, there are big fabric stores where you can see the fabric that you're interested in if you're wanting to upholster or just buy yardage for home sewing. And then, there are a whole bunch of girls, lots of my team busy at the back, working away. And then if you go up the stairs, up the fire escape, past all the plants, because I've got a lot of plants going on up and down the stairs, you'll find the studio above where I sit and work. I have my pin boards and my computer and my work table, and my business partner Pearl is up here, and my assistant, and we have a lot more fabric and cut stock stored. And then a little bit further down the passage, our fabulous seamstress team working away.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's quite a hive of industry, I must say. Yeah. Everybody is working hard all of the time.
It's inspiring. It must be inspiring. That's terrific. So tell me a little bit about the products that you're currently producing. What does the range look like?
Well, we have 3 different sizes of pillow. And we've recently in the last year or so, we've started doing our fabric, the printed fabric on both sides of the pillow. We used to have plain fabric on the back and printed on the front. And we're so happy with the way it looks with printed fabric on both. It's really, I think it gives your pillow double life, which is really fantastic. Then we also sell some tableware, napkins, table runners, sometimes tablecloths usually made up to order, because we do custom orders in the shop as well. We sell something called soft buckets, which I developed last year as just a little storage bucket made of fabric for putting your knitting in, or the cat's toys, or bread rolls at breakfast, or anything really. Just a little soft fabric bucket, and people really love them. They've really been a hit. We've also got little purses and pouches, and then there are also stationery items. We produce some of our own stationery. I did a collection with Chronicle Books a year and a half ago. And so, we've got a lot of things for sale. It actually it's not a very big shop, but it can take quite a while to walk around and see all the things that we have on offer.
And the surfaces of all of these things are decorated with your illustrated designs.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make that clear too. So, so the neighborhood, I've never been to South Africa. I've never been to Cape Town.
Okay.
So for those of us who have never visited, what is Bree Street like?
Bree Street is in the center of town, and Cape Town's an unusual city because it's it's fairly small for the reason that we're situated in a kind of a bowl of mountains, like a serious mountain. If you look out of the back of my studio, Table Mountain is like right there, this giant national park, very high mountain. That'll take you a day, well, actually, maybe not a whole day, half a day to climb. And then the rest of the bowl is the sea. So it's not a very big city. And Bree Street is one of the streets that kind of makes up about the 7 that fill up this little bit of the central city. And not too long ago, actually, it wasn't a very interesting street. But in the we've been here 3 years. And during that time, it's really, really taken off. There are fabulous cafes and coffee shops and bakeries and fashion shops. And it really is a really fabulous street. In the past, there was another street called Long Street that was kind of the place to be. But that's become full of backpackers and bars and things like that. So I like to call Bree Street Long Street for grown-ups.
So it sounds like your ideal customer is pretty likely to walk by.
Absolutely.
And that's perfect. Okay, good. Now, has that meant the rent has gone up in the last little while?
Oh, no. We've got such a nice landlord. I love him.
Oh, good. Okay, that's good to hear. Because sometimes when your area starts to take off, it gets hard to stay.
I know. Let's not even talk about it. I'm terrified.
Okay, fingers crossed. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the wholesale business, too, because I think that must take up a lot of your time, and the people who work for you must take up a tremendous amount of their time. So you have accounts all over. I was looking at the map on your website, and it's so cool to click on all these different continents and see. I mean, you have work at Heath Ceramics in San Francisco, which is an incredibly gorgeous place. You have work at shops in Melbourne, in Japan, in Vienna, in the Netherlands, in the U.S., of course, just everywhere. And I wonder sort of how much of your time is spent servicing the wholesale accounts and kind of how you manage those.
Well, yeah, it does take up a lot of time, and it takes up a lot of space as well, because, one needs to have space to produce, to have all that fabric to store once you've produced it, and a place to store all the cut stock, because we like to do a 3-week turnaround on our wholesale orders. So you need to have a lot of stuff ready just to put into production, and off you go. So it's pretty much going on full time. And I have to say, in the last year or two, a year and a half or so, our business has grown so quickly and so fast. I mean, we started this year. I mean, usually the beginning of the year, everybody's recovering from the whole Christmas shopping season. But it's just the wholesale side of things has been go, go, go. It's quite fantastic. My business partner, Pearl, deals with that side of things. And we have a team that handles the wholesale. So it's a whole thing of, the communication with the customer and working out how much they need, what they're able to get, what works together, quotes on shipping, all of that kind of thing. And then actually managing all of the different orders going through the production process in order to put it into a box and take it to the post office to get there on time. It's quite a process. Yeah.
So as far as like the screen printing, because the patterns on the fabrics, they're screen printed, is that right?
They are.
Okay. And I know screen printing is kind of a whole aspect of production in and of itself. It's kind of messy and everything. So where does that actually take place? Is that taking place in your studio?
No, it's not.
Okay. So how did that work?
So when I started out, I was doing my own screen printing, but it soon became clear that I needed the professionals to help with the volume. So there's a screen printing facility about 20 minutes away from us, and I have a production manager called Sarah, who is pretty much out there every day. managing the mixing of colors, the approval of screens, the approval of colors, doing all the checking as things get rolled on. So although she's not employed, she's employed by Skinny LaMinx, and it's produced at another facility, we pretty much have somebody there all the time managing what we have to do.
Okay, so it's kind of lucky that you have a facility like that so close to you.
We are lucky, and I must say, I visited the States a few years ago, and I met a lot of people who had, similar sized businesses to me, and I was really quite amazed at how in the States it's really not easy to find printing facilities. So much of your production seems to have gone offshore. I really realized we have a great advantage in maybe it's being so far away at the bottom of Africa, we kind of have to do things ourselves.
Yeah, I hope it's coming back. I think to a small degree in some select areas, I think it is coming back a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely not easy to find something like that.
Yeah, we are lucky. I must say, since we've got a little bit larger, our orders have become a bit larger. We're using another facility as well, which is in another town. That requires occasional visits, but not quite as much hands-on managing of the process.
Okay. All right. And so then you mentioned, so you have Sarah, who is managing the screen printing, and then you have Pearl, who we'll talk about in a little bit because she's actually your business partner. And then you have these employees, and they help with all different aspects of production. So I know there are several of them, and I just wondered if you wanted to describe just briefly what their roles are. Who do you have doing what?
Okay, great. Well, we've just been talking about the wholesale side of things and the production. So working on that along with Sarah are Malika and Belinda, who they actually work very closely with Pearl as well, managing stock levels, making sure that levels of fabric are sufficient so that we can cut enough stock to have on call, keeping a count of everything on the shelves, and then managing the actual orders and getting them off to the post office and sending off invoices and that kind of thing. So they're very, very busy, those two. Arlene is our shop manager, who's an absolute whiz. She is so good. She can speak 2 languages. She can style up a storm. She is unflappable I can't do what she does. She can manage, 4 people at once. She's a real whiz.
So she's the person who is actually in the retail...
In the store.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. If you come into my shop, you'll find Eileen there. Sonia she's part-time. She manages the online shops. She's a mum, so she kind of does that in between home and kids and coming in here now and again. Then Melissa is my design assistant. She helps with editing photographs and doing the bits of graphic design. She's for many years I said I needed a mini-me, and now I've got Melissa. She's taller than I am, but she's still a mini-me. She's fabulous. And then we've got Marcia, Muna, Minnie, I don't know why everybody's got an M, and Bridget, doing the sewing, and Nadia and her daughter Ziara cutting up here as well.
Okay, great.
So, it's quite a bunch.
Yeah, and I think it's helpful for people to hear what kind of roles new people can take on as you grow. Just because, myself, my business is just me. But thinking going forward, if you were to expand, what kind of people you would bring on and what it is you would have them do. So,
yeah, that's something interesting because recently we felt that we needed somebody to help with the social media and marketing, which I do by myself. And it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it sure is.
And it really can get a little bit out of control. So we tried to find somebody and didn't quite come up with the right person. There's some kind of gap there that we're trying to work out exactly what that is, because, of course, that side of things, you need it to be so well done for it to be, genuine. It can't really be something that you farm out. And it's something that I really enjoy doing.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's hard to let it go, and if you are going to let it go, it has to be done by somebody who's really authentically.
I actually think that I'm starting to think that the secret is not so much finding somebody else to do it as knowing when to stop, knowing when enough social media is enough.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, since we're on the topic of social media, let's talk a little bit about Instagram. And we'll come back to sort of the business side of things in a moment. But
Okay.
I love your Instagram, and I feel like you do Instagram very well. You do lots of other social media, of course, as well. But I just wanted to focus there for a moment because I think that I think it's something that you've grown really well. You have over 16,000 followers on Instagram. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about what your Instagram routine looks like and if you have sort of a strategy for it or you just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. So, what does Instagram look like for you?
I'm very much a fly by my seat of my pants kind of person. And when you come back to talking about my business partner, you realize why I need it. But, I really enjoy it. I think I have loved, when Instagram was invented, I've always had an Android phone, and I saw it going on iPhones. I was so jealous. I signed up to be told the minute it came onto Android. The minute it came onto Android, I got it. I got the app, and I started. Because I just love the idea of just being able to see something, frame it, capture it, share it, and I find it very pleasurable to share it, to get other people's reactions on it. But the other thing that I find very useful about Instagram is it helps me notice what I'm noticing. It's almost like something I use as a record for myself to see what has been catching my eye, which sounds like I'm not very well in touch with myself. But sometimes it's only when you look back on things that you see a pattern emerging that starts to make sense.
Yeah. So a couple of things that makes me think about. One is that to do social media well, I feel like it has to serve you personally in some way.
Right.
And if you're only doing it to promote your goods, or you're only doing it because it's part of, some sort of strategy that you have to do sort of thing, I feel like it won't either be authentic or you won't keep going with it. And so
you're so right.
It really sounds like for you, Instagram, you got a satisfaction in sharing, and you also almost find it to be part of your art practice, like trying to sort of make yourself aware of what you're noticing, of what you're visually, what's pleasing to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think also just taking a lot of photographs trains your eye as far as composition goes. And also helps you, well, I find it helps me trust myself trust my own eye. Sometimes something will catch my eye and I'll think, oh, that's nice. And then I'll actually go, no, you noticed it. Go back and look at it again and see how you can frame it and snap it, grab it. And often those things that kind of just snag, and then I do take the time to photograph them. They're things that really please me. Yeah,
so instead of seeing it as a distraction, and that way it's actually an aid, You're
right.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that people often say, oh, get off of social media and go make something. And yes, that is very important. You shouldn't be on social media all day and not make anything, but it can actually assist you in the making.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that worries me about it is all these things where you follow people whose things you like. It ends up being, you end up looking at the same kind of things. When you're looking at other people's feeds or the people you've chosen to follow, I feel like sometimes you start to think everybody's things are starting to look the same. It does worry me sometimes.
Yeah.
I think perhaps we should all branch out and follow some really crazy-ass people. Shake things up for ourselves a bit.
Good point. I also think, though, too, do you find, and it's hard to know this for sure without sort of becoming some sort of like statistics or analytics nerd, but do you think people buy things from what they see on your Instagram when you post pictures of your products?
Gosh, yeah, that is one of those mysteries, isn't it?
It is.
There are people who know how to work this out.
I know, and I'm not one of them. But I guess, so really you're working on a hunch. I know from personal experience that I have bought things that I saw on Instagram. Like I've followed the link in the profile and gone to the person's shop and bought the item. And it's happened several times in the last month even for me. So I just wonder whether you have any impression whether that's happening.
The only time I've really noticed a direct impact is particularly people who live in Cape Town. I'll have some magazine that's pretty unusual or hard to get hold of. And I'll put it on Instagram and say, oh, I've got kinfolk, but there are only 10 copies. And then suddenly lots of copies will sell because people have spotted it. But yeah, as far as the other sales go, I don't know. I think a lot of work that you put into, especially this kind of social media, is just, I don't know, getting your work into people's consciousness, positioning it in a way. I think it's more branding than sales. And I don't really like to think of it in terms of sales, because I think as soon as you do that, the motivation for what it's about, it's not as enjoyable to watch something that's got a sales focus.
Right.
Somehow.
Good point. Yeah. Okay. All right. So coming back to how your business is structured, let's talk a little bit about Pearl Thompson, who is your business partner. You met a few years ago. You're from the same town and knew a lot of the same people, but then you met, I think, at a wedding. Is that right? And then she started buying some things from you. And then she approached you when she was looking for a new opportunity, and approached you and asked whether she might be of value to you to help with the business side of things. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, the oddest, it really is the oddest thing that we didn't meet a lot earlier. Pearl and I are we're extremely compatible. We get on incredibly well. Her best friend from school is married to somebody who was the neighbor and best friend of my husband when he was 3 years old. I mean, ridiculous coincidences and connections that hardly even make sense. But yeah, we did only meet him about 4 years ago. And Pearl's great strength, and one that I really admire, because it's something I don't have at all. She's extremely decisive and very, very clear in her thinking. And she's also got a love of systems, and she just gets how things ought to be in order to run smoothly. She loves to tease things out and make systems out of them and make it work.
So she sounds like a great compliment to you.
Yeah, she really is. She really is. And the reason that we work so well as a team is that I enjoy the business side of things, and she enjoys the design side of things. So bouncing ideas off each other, or it means that we can really share both sides of the business and then only deal with the one that where our greatest strength is.
Right.
But get the pleasure of the other.
Right. So what kinds of responsibilities does she have day to day?
So Pearl keeps an eye on the money. She oversees all of the wholesale side of things, liaising also with production and stock levels, but kind of on a high level. And then we work together on strategy. She works with our distributor in the Netherlands. We're looking for more of those kinds of opportunities. So she's the brains.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So that makes sense. And then she was in Paris for 2 years, and you worked remotely. How did that go?
That's right. Yeah, we'd been working together for 1 year. And then her husband, who's a really fabulous guy, got offered a position with UNESCO in Paris. So she went off and lived in Paris for 2 years. We used Skype a lot. We had proper meetings on Skype twice a week. We did a lot of Skype chat, a lot of email, and she would come out twice a year. It was very challenging. The business was growing quite fast while she was away. And by the end, we were both pretty worn out by the process. Those those kind of little meetings that one has in the day, the little bouncing things off each other, the picking up on people's moods or senses of how they're feeling and so on. It's quite difficult. It was very difficult to do from a distance. And I must say, since Pearl's been back for the whole of last year and now into this year, the business has really taken off. So, yeah.
Okay.
But I think the thing is, if a partnership is able to survive something like that so early on, it's a pretty good sign that you're good at working together.
Yeah, totally. And are you equal partners now? Is that how it works?
So I'm the business owner, and Pearl and I are equal in terms of what we take out of the business. Okay,
that's just helpful to know, I think, because when you start a partnership, when you start a company on your own and then bring on a partner, right? That's kind of a shift because
it's a very difficult thing to do. Actually, it's very complex. We spent a lot of time last year working it out. We had a counselor helping us because it's quite emotional stuff as well. But we figured it out.
Yeah,
we go.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there are a lot of feelings that go along with it. Yeah. People might not anticipate, but it's true. I think it is definitely true. Okay, so I know you take a lot of pride in producing all of the textiles that you produce and all of the products that you produce locally. As you mentioned, the screen printing facilities that are, just the next town over, and even the cotton that you use is milled in South Africa. And I just wonder if you ever feel, pressure when people say, oh, your business is growing, you should open a second shop, or, you should outsource production. Do you feel that pressure, and sort of how do you take that in and react to that?
We do feel the pressure. It's it's always the next step, the grow. But I have to say that this business has really grown at its own pace from day one. We've reacted to what it's needed, and that reaction has been the correct one. Right now, we're getting good at running the business at the size it is at. And that is taking a lot of energy. Expanding, I think that needs us to be ready for the next challenge. And right now we're getting good at what we do now. I'm always willing to take on a challenge that presents itself, but I don't feel like this one is presenting itself as the right thing to do right now.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot to be said for doing what you do really well. And, there's without any reason to feel like you have to become twice the size you are.
Exactly, because I think the thing is then you become twice the size and then you feel like you need to be twice the size of that. I mean, where does it stop?
Right. Right. It stops where you feel like it's awesome right where it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that we say about what we do and why we do it, and, we both enjoy hard work, but we also enjoy our lives. And actually, one of the best things you can get out of your job, apart from making money or whatever it might be, is enjoying your day.
Yeah.
Every day, enjoying your day. And obviously some are going to be more challenging than others, but if you can enjoy your day, that is a hell of a thing to achieve. And most of the time I think we enjoy our days.
Yeah, that's super important for sure. All right, so most of the people I talk to on this show are in the U.S. or in Canada. Mm-hmm. I had one guest from the UK. But you live in South Africa, and I wonder if living in Africa has any sort of specific influences on your work or on your business. Your design work has what I identify as a Scandinavian style. And I just wonder if you feel like there's also an African influence on that design?
Yeah, well, firstly, South Africa is such a mixed up place in terms of culture and what is African. So my enjoyment of Scandinavian style, I think, stems from the fact that my mum's best friend was Swedish, but she was not from Sweden. She was, I think, third generation daughter of Swedish missionaries. So she came from an African family. You know, they'd been in Africa for a long time. All their focus of their lives was African, but she lived a very Swedish life. And her house was very Swedish, and her taste was very Swedish. And yet, you know, her life was Africa. And I think wherever you live, it's inevitable that what that place is will have a connection. My very first fabric collection was called Sevilla Rock. And I actually didn't know anything about designing fabric. I was just enjoying the process of creating a repeating pattern. And I'd been working with somebody who knew a lot about rock art, very ancient paintings on rocks from the original people here in this part of the world. And, you know, I'd always seen those kinds of paintings as part of the vernacular, mostly tourist rubbish, like an ashtray with a rock art painting on or something really awful. And I'd never really paid any attention to them. And then going away with this guy, Peter, and talking about what the paintings were and crawling into caves and finding these exquisite little ancient, extremely well-observed little drawings, they made me realize the beauty of this little thing. But then I was also aware of how it had become eroded by the kind of tourist tat side of things. So I decided I was going to take my enjoyment of a clean, Scandi type of aesthetic and mix it with this beautiful little drawing. And that's where my first fabric collection came out. So very much an African story, but mixed up with my, the things that aesthetically speak to me.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So I feel like, it does really pull in. Your surroundings are very much present. Yeah.
Also, we live in a beautiful natural environment. So plants and birds. We can watch birds of prey from my apartment balcony, and beautiful, incredibly rich floral kingdom within a 20-minute walk from my front door. So it's a very rich environment for a designer.
Yeah, nice. So let's sort of go back from before that first fabric collection and kind of back up a little bit and explore your background. So you didn't actually train as an illustrator or as a fiber artist, which I thought was really interesting because you're clearly so skilled at it. So what did you study in college? Sort of why didn't you say, I'm going to, major in illustration?
I'm such a late bloomer. I didn't know what I wanted for a really long time. So I studied. I had a really fun time, though, at university. I studied English literature, and I studied French, and I studied drama. Drama was my major. And then after that, I thought I'd do something sensible, so I did a teaching diploma. And I was always drawing. I'd always draw little things. And one of my teaching lecturers was writing a school textbook, and she asked me to illustrate it. It was all little mice or something like that. And they liked the illustrations, and the publisher said, well, look, if you ever move to Cape Town, we'd be sure to give you some more work. So I moved to Cape Town, and then I started doing illustrations for school books. And I did that for quite a long time. And I learned a lot about drawing that way, because I knew nothing about drawing. I would get a brief, like, draw a harbor with, the view from a helicopter looking down on a harbor, and you must be able to see seagulls and cranes and trucks and a view of the city in the distance with tractor, like ridiculous briefs. And they'd be like, by next Wednesday.
You're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I just had to do it. So I learned a great deal very fast.
Yeah, on-the-job training. So did you do that for, you said a number of years. How many years was that?
I did that for 10 years.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. One of the things that was really, really fantastic during that time was I worked with a couple of women and co-wrote and illustrated a series of reading books for kids, when they start school. And it's a bit of a complex story, but the reading books got picked up by a big publisher. They got translated into all our languages, because we have 11 languages in South Africa. And the really fantastic thing about that was I started to get a royalties income from those books, which meant I could step back from the illustration and start to think about what I wanted to do, because I had a little bit of an income that was not directly related to work. So I took a studio and I took a half-day job as a comic scriptwriter, and I started screen printing. So yeah, it was a very lucky. It was a bit of a gamble, because when you do a book, when you illustrate 28 books on no pay for the hope of royalties one day, it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it did pay off.
Right. So the books that you were illustrating, you were getting sort of freelance, paid up front for those. But this reading, you weren't.
Yeah, the other ones I was.
Yeah.
But
these reading books were really like on the hopes of future royalties. And
the hopes of future royalties.
Right.
But the women I was working with were so awesome. And the books we wrote were so fantastic, if I say so myself, that I was really happy to do it for no money at all.
That's terrific. Can you tell us the name of that series, just so if people happen to have seen it or want to take a look at it?
They're called the Kagiso Readers, which is Kagiso.
Okay. All right, cool. That's just interesting to take a look at, sort of.
Yeah, well, I do think people starting a business, it really does help to have some seed capital. And this wasn't so much seed capital as just some income that I didn't have to generate. It was just a little bit of a chance to have a bit of a relief.
Yeah.
And to take a little bit of a risk.
So in 2006, you took that risk, and you said you got a part-time job and got a studio, and were starting to do some illustration, and you started a blog. And I'm wondering how you heard initially about blogs.
Oh gosh, I wonder. It's a good question. The internet, broadband was pretty rare in South Africa at first. I don't know what it was like over there, but we tend to be a little bit slow coming to the party. We are quite far away. But where I was working, this comics company, they had broadband internet. And I used to write my scripts really very well, but very fast.
I see where this is going.
So I used to have a little bit of spare time to look around on the internet, and I liked what I saw.
Okay, so you stumbled on blogs, and you started. And was your blog called Skinny LaMinx?
Yeah, it was. I don't know why. It was just a little funny thing that I'd made up. It was a nickname for our Siamese cat. His name's Monkey, and she's very skinny, and she's a little minx. So
you just sort of got started, and then you started on Etsy shop as well, and maybe 2007?
Yeah. Actually, I have to add here, probably the reason I got into blogs and started an Etsy shop is my friend Jessie Breitenbach, who you should look up online, because she's a really fantastic pattern designer, also here in Cape Town, who works with block printing. She's an amazing knitter and an amazing sewist. She's a really fantastic person. So I'll send you her details.
Okay, yeah, I'll link to that in the show notes. So she was the one who sort of pointed you in that direction.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we used to work together occasionally. So
okay, cool. So you started this Etsy shop, and you still have it, which I thought was really interesting, because I was looking at it this morning, and you're still selling things from Etsy every day. You've got, and some days it's like a dozen things, some days it's less, some days it's much more. But that's really still your main online shop. You have another online shop that's just for South African customers. But
yes.
Your main sort of online retail shop for people like me who, live in Boston and want to buy something is through Etsy. And I wondered why, clearly you could have, opened your own shop in some other way. And I just wonder why you chose to stay on Etsy.
Yeah, it is a good question. And funnily enough, I've just read your article about why you chose to stay on Etsy. And the reason I read yours was that it's something that I do think about. But, and a lot of the time, staying on Etsy has been quite a difficult decision to keep up with, because there was a point at which I was not really in the spirit of Etsy as it used to be. I wasn't making everything myself or printing everything myself. But but then they were evolving at the same time and allowing more and more of that. Now, I used to have quite a lot of conversations with the Etsy honchos about, shall I leave, or how should we go about this? It's kind of grown and changed along with my business, and it's quite a difficult thing to decide what's next. We actually are thinking of opening another one on a different platform that's more Skinny LaMinx, centric. It's not so much an Etsy shop that Skinny LaMinx has the shop on, but it's a bit of a ship to turn around.
Yeah, it's just an interesting question. I still think, and I'm betting for you even though you have such a strong following of your own, that people find you perhaps for the first time on Etsy still. Do you think that might be true?
It might be true, but I don't know how people find things on Etsy. There's so many people on Etsy. It's interesting. If I look at what people are looking for when they come to my shop, they're usually looking for Skinny LaMinx. So, which is great. I mean, that's really, really fantastic. But yeah, there probably are.
Yeah.
Who look at other people's favorites, and there's all that wonderful networking. And still I look at all of the forums and the way people help each other, and it's amazing. There are not a lot of platforms that have that kind of generosity.
That's true. Yeah, good point. All right, so yeah, I'm still on Etsy as well, and I always wonder about people who are still there. So that's good to know. It's complicated. It's a complicated decision. Yeah. So over the years, you've had a couple of experiences. I think we all probably have. Any of us who've been online for a long time and have a lot of images online, where people copied your designs and passed them off as their own. And I wondered if you wanted to share one of those experiences and how you handled it, because I think it's something that people worry a lot about, like I'm afraid to show what I've made because I feel like somebody will take it without my permission, or, once it happens, what am I going to do? I can't afford a lawyer. How am I going to handle this? I just wondered if, because you've been through it, maybe if you could share sort of what happened and what you did next.
Well, it's not going to be the same story for everybody. I think the whenever this kind of thing does happen, the big positive that comes out of it is I never find it by myself. I'm always sent a message on Twitter or on Facebook or something by somebody who knows and loves Skinny LaMinx, who says, gosh, I just came across something that looks a heck of a lot like yours. Do you want to go and check it out? So there's... why I say that's the positive thing is it feels like it's kind of policed by people who care about my things, which is really amazing, and I'm enormously grateful for. And it makes me feel a bit safer about putting things out there. You have to put things out there because otherwise you're not going to sell anything. But I imagine if you don't have that kind of support base of people who care about your business, the danger is much more. And what I've done when this has happened is, I'm just thinking about one incident a few years ago. It was somebody in South America, and I tackled them about it, and it was quite weird. I think a lot of people, they genuinely think that once they find something on the internet, it's there for the taking. It was kind of, I felt like I had to educate them on the fact that this belongs to somebody and you can't just use it for your own gain. So that, I also find that the threat of an online shaming of saying, if you continue to sell this thing, I will tell everybody and they won't like you, kind of threat has been effective in the past.
Yeah, especially since you have such a loving community, and you have, and frankly, you have kind of a big microphone. I mean, so that helps.
It does help. I mean, as I say, though, I mean, if you're just starting out or a little bit smaller, I think it must be a genuine risk. But the other risk is not for anybody to ever see your work.
Right. That is the risk.
So I hope that the risk, the benefits outweigh those risks.
Yeah. Oh, they absolutely do. But, okay. I think that's helpful to people. And I wanted to return for a minute to the name Skinny LaMinx because, as you said, it was kind of, it was a nickname for your cat. And it sounds like it was almost kind of an off the cuff decision to name the blog that, and that kind of became the business name. It wasn't like you sat down with, a million different possible names and like a matrix and tried to figure out 2 words that might go together and might make sense and evoke a particular visual image in people's minds or something like that. It sounds sort of like it was, a quick decision. And I just wonder, first of all, am I right about that? And second, are you happy with the name? If you had to do it over, would you keep that name? And has it caused any kind of difficulty, or do you sort of love the name? So what is your relationship with the name Skinny LaMinx?
It was very much, as I said earlier, I'm pretty much a seat of the pants person. The first name I thought of was Minx Skidoo, but I don't know why I thought that. And then I found out there was some kind of ski thing called a skidoo, so I was like, okay, skidoo is not going to work, and then I went on to Skinny LaMinx. I think it was just a challenge that kind of took my imagination for a week. Like, what am I going to call my blog? And that's what I came up with. There's also, and this is a little obscure. I usually say it's a nickname for my Siamese cat because there's another story that it makes more sense to South Africans and I think some Irish and Scottish people. But there's a playground rhyme that goes, skinny, malinky, long legs, big banana feet. And there's more and more about having a baby and drive-ins and bizarre things. But there's Skinny LaMinx, which is the typical way of saying it. I mixed it up a bit to be Skinny LaMinx. And so that's my only regret is sometimes people say Skinny LaMinx. Even my mum says Skinny LaMinx. But otherwise, I think people are intrigued. They enjoy it. It's easy to, it's cheeky. It's a cute name.
Yeah, it is a cute name. And it's just interesting because when you think about naming, like I'm imagining you had no idea what was going to happen, what this was going to grow into.
I would never have started.
Right. Seems a little overwhelming to think, well, I'm going to start this business that's going to be this massive wholesale thing. And yeah, totally. But yeah, so you just sort of pick this name without knowing. And then, all these years later, you're like, this is my name. And, it sort of becomes separated from its actual meaning, and it sort of comes to represent your business in a way that's sort of abstracted from the literal meaning of what those 2 words mean. So, yeah.
Well, you know what? I've got to go back to your about page now on your blog and find out why yours is while she naps.
I'll tell you briefly, but I am in sort of a similar position in that I was very off the cuff. I just came up with the name for it out for coffee with my husband one night, and I was like, I had just discovered blogs and thought, hey, I can do this. I can start a blog of my own. And my daughter was 9 months old, and I'm like, I'll just do a blog about the things I'm making while she's napping. And so I thought I would call it While She's Napping, but when you write that out, it looks like While She's Snapping. And so I was like, well, I'll just have to call it While She Naps. And that was it. And I literally had no idea. And now, it's totally the wrong name. Like, it's not at all the name that I would pick now, but for years it was apropos, and now it's totally not apropos anymore, but I'm not going to change it. It is what it is. And here we are. And I think hopefully in some people's minds at least it's become separated from the literal meaning of those words and just come to mean sort of what it is that I make. And that's enough. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I know, but it's funny how, I don't know, sort of innocent. That's when I chose it. I was no anticipation. So
that sounds very impressive. Your daughter must nap for a long time.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about it is, so now she's almost 11. She'll be 11 next week, and then I had 2 other daughters. So fortunately, I had no sons, so it all worked out. But all right, so I wanted to talk as my last question about some of the media coverage that you've gotten. I was looking at the media section on your website, which is really impressive. There's a lot there, and it's very clear why. Your work is absolutely beautiful and very sort of fits in with so many different kinds of decor and kinds of styles, I feel like. And I just wonder, of all of those sort of articles and interviews and things that have been done, I mean, you've been in all kinds of really well-known magazines and things like that. Was there one that was like represented a turning point, you know, like you got this one piece and after that a whole sort of flood of orders came in, or a perception of sort of what you were doing shifted in people's minds and things sort of took off from there?
Interesting question. You know, I have been extremely lucky with all of the media that I've got. I'm so grateful for it, and it just arrives. The email it's fantastic. It's really, really so fortunate. But I think a lot of the early stuff, the timing of starting a blog in 2006 and starting to make things around about then, when blogs were just starting out, was really fantastic. And something like Design Sponge, I must say that the first feature I had on Design Sponge was huge for me. It really, I think possibly huge for me personally more than business-wise, because, you know, living down here at the bottom of Africa in a country that's got quite a difficult history, you know, it's been 20 years of democracy, but before that we were pretty much a pariah. We were very excluded from the Western culture. You know, there were a lot of things that weren't shared with us. There's always been a sense that South Africa is a bit backward and a bit, you know, nothing great comes out of here, and we're stuck away at the end of the world. And getting a feature on something like Design Sponge really, really, really made me realize that maybe I was onto something, that maybe it was possible to create something fabulous myself and to do it from the ends of the earth. It was, it really was a moment for me.
Yeah, and kudos to you and kudos to Grace for being brave enough to feature somebody who other people weren't already featuring and who did live in an unusual place, but who was making great work that was worth noticing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still actually feel very, a little bit choked up.
Okay, that was a good story. So I want to end on just knowing what might be next for Skinny LaMinx. It sounds as though, you know, as we mentioned, you're very happy doing things the way they are now and sort of refining the systems that are already in place. And I just wondered, you know, is there a new collection coming out or something exciting you wanted to share with listeners?
Actually, lots of exciting things coming up. We are planning and getting cracking on launching our new collection in May, late May. And it's a collection that comes out of some teaching I did on a Ritchie Ace camp in Jaipur last year, where I learned about block printing. And it's not so much Indian-inspired as just really, I fell in love with the process of block printing. But I can't say anything more about it.
Okay.
So that's coming out at the end of May. Okay. And then I'm off to the States. I'm really excited to be taking a trip to the US in the middle of June. I'm planning to go to the West Coast. I've never been to LA, but I'll have a little show at Heath Ceramics in LA in the middle of June, and a trip to San Francisco. And I'm wanting to hook up again with hook up. You can't say hook up. That's Americans say hook up. It's the wrong word.
Meet up. Yeah.
Meet up. Sorry. Oh golly, the cultural obstacles. To meet up with stockists of ours on the West Coast, and yeah, I'm really excited about that. It's going to be fun.
That sounds fantastic. Okay, great. So I wanted to make sure we got a couple of your recommendations. So we wanted to talk, I think, first about an app that sounds really good and perhaps something I should download like today. So it's called the Todoist app.
Yes, it's the Todoist app. I found out about it on Skillshare, which is another amazing online resource that I just discovered during the holidays, where people do how-to videos about all manner of things. but really well done and very much in the design world. Definitely worth looking at. But this one was done by a guy who is a professional, what do you call it? He helps you become more productive, a productivity coach. And he recommended this app called Todoist, which you download, and you can have an extension that goes into your Gmail. And it's just the most incredible thing for taming your inbox. Every email that needs to be dealt with, either answered or followed up and so on, you can put into your daily to-do list. So you never lose that email that you need to follow up on, or, send that document or whatever. It's really changed my life.
So it creates a to-do list that integrates your email. Is that basically,
Yes.
Am I summarizing it correctly?
That is the feature that I find extremely useful about it. It's mostly just a to-do list and a way of organizing all of your projects that you're working on and breaking them down into actions rather than just it's not like shoot the new textile collection. It's every action that needs to go into that project can be broken down and allocated to days. But then the email side of it, I just find really useful for keeping the inbox under control.
And do you share your to-do list with other people who you work for, or is it just for you?
Well, I'm trying to work out how to do that.
Okay.
I need to go back into Skillshare and find out how to share my to-do
list. Totally. That sounds good, though, because, well, first of all, I love that integration with email.
Yes.
That's super. And I just recently stopped using a paper calendar, and now all my calendar is digital, which is terrific. So I can share things with my husband if I'm teaching in the evening and that sort of thing, and he can see what my meetings are, and I can see his. So I love that. And I also can keep all my other work stuff that he doesn't care about separate, so he doesn't get cluttered into his calendar. But I haven't yet made my to-do list digital. That's sort of my last thing. And so what I do with my email is I flag emails. So I have all these different colored flags. So when emails come in that I need to deal with, that I just flag them. And so there's purple ones and green ones. And they just sit there like flagged. I'm like, do something.
Okay, I'm gonna send you the link to that productivity coach, and he can teach you all about that. I'm such a convert.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. So, all right, and your last one, your second one that I think we'll have time for today is about your early morning walks. And I do run in the morning, but I don't go very early in the morning. I go around 9. So I wanted to hear about your walks.
Well, that's something I've started doing fairly recently. It is summertime here, and the sun's up nice and early, and I do live in an amazing neighborhood. And you know that thing where you kind of never feel like you get around to exercising. There's always something to do, and I thought this is ridiculous. So I'm 3 times a week. I'm out of bed, 5:30, quickly have a cup of tea, and then set off for an hour of walking around the neighborhood. And I try to take a different path every day and just go up and down roads I've never been on before. And it's just such a great way to, I don't know, like have the streets to yourself, nobody's around. Maybe the tramps are waking up. It's a really beautiful part of the day, and it's much better than sleeping.
Yeah, well, I love sleeping, I have to say, but
I do too.
But I have to wake up early anyway because I have little kids. So,
yeah.
But I do run in the morning, and I have to say, for years I didn't do it, and I always felt like I wasn't ever outside experiencing the weather. And so when I started running, I never go on a treadmill, and I never go to the gym. I'm always outside. If I'm going to run, it has to be outside because I always want to feel like I sort of experience the weather that day. And so I go, even if it's pouring rain, I go in the snow, it doesn't matter what the weather is, I go if it's burning hot, I just always go. And I feel like I know what the day was. Like I know what it was like out there, and that helps me a lot. So
I love it. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in favor of it. So, all right. Well, Heather, these were great recommendations, and I just so enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on the While She Naps podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad we connected so far away.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where can people find Skinny LaMinx online?
Well, our website is skinnylaminx.com. And on the website, there are links to the online shops, Also to our catalogs, so you can see all of the things that we have in, available to order. And then all the links to the other Facebook and Instagram and all of the other bits and bobs that we do. And I write a blog probably twice a week, and then I send out a weekly newsletter on Wednesdays.
Excellent. Okay, yes, and I'm a subscriber. So, all right, it's perfect. So you've been listening to the Walshy Naps podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg, and I invite you to visit my blog, walshynaps.com, where you'll find helpful information for creative entrepreneurs, as well as tutorials and patterns for making stuffed animals and dolls. And if you enjoy the show, tell a friend about it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.